I saved $45,000 over 3 years for my 8-year-old son Jacob's spinal surgery. 2 jobs, countless overtime hours, and barely any sleep. When Jacob needed urgent pre-surgery care, I had to stay with him at the hospital. I trusted my cousin Stephanie to hold on to the cash. We grew up together. She was family. When I called asking for the money back, she laughed. The surgery payment was due in 3 days. That money was everything. Let me know where you are watching from. And hit that like and subscribe button before I tell you how I fought back when my own blood betrayed me and my son. I never thought I would be a single dad. Life throws curveballs when you least expect them. My ex-wife walked out when Jacob was just 2 years old, claiming she was not cut out for motherhood. No warning signs, no long